Chris, what's your take of the week? Does it have anything to do with maybe that Celtics Nets kind of back and
It
forth,
actually
or
does. I
wow,
saw.
okay,
I was actually talking about this with my friend because I saw like a tweet about it, and I was like, you know what? This is actually very comparable. That Kevin Durant is this generation's Michael Jordan
interesting,
in
okay,
the aspect of when Michael played great, Michael's the GOAT, same thing. Durant, great guy, best player, da da da. But then when, Jordan has a bad game, nobody talks about Jordan having a bad game. We just forget about it. People
I
forget
don't
about Durant
know.
having bad games. Nobody talks about it. It's just all kind of swept under the rug type of thing. 'Cause
Yeah,
I've literally never heard anybody talk about like bad games. Yeah, there's the Kevin Durant slander, like, oh, he's a snake, he went to this and that. But that's it. They just talk about his character. They don't talk about his bad game. Because that last possession, he was fully guarding Tatum. And he just
yep,
froze and let the man go to the basket.
yeah. He looked like the Iron Giant on top of a town. Like I've seen a
Yes.
lot of slander. Like you're talking about, you haven't seen slander. I go on Twitter and I'm seeing like blasphemous takes about Kevin Durant and how he's overrated and he's actually not that good. And people talk about how he's one of the greatest offensive players of all time, but it doesn't matter because he can't play defense. Well, I agree. His game has never been on defense. I don't agree with your take. There's been times where KD's definitely been held accountable. The person that
Nah.
I've been hearing people being like, the person that I've heard Michael Jordan be compared to lately is actually Steph Curry. They talked a lot about how, the comparison has always been LeBron and Michael. And that's maybe more so for the greatness comparison. But in terms of comparing them and their teams and their eras, a lot of the argument is, well, Michael never had to come back from 3-1 against a dynasty 73-9 win team. Michael never had to do that because he was that team. So Steph was that guy on that team. Michael was that guy on that team. Changed the culture. We can debate. Steph Curry has a real tough argument against LeBron James for who was the greatest player of the decade of the 2010s. So I would use Steph as a comparison, but I understand what you're saying, Katie.
Mm.
Steve Ash, what are your thoughts on that?
I did see that tweet that Chris is kind of referring
Mm-hmm.
to, that Katie does not get the criticism he deserves. And I will say this, I agree with that. And Toby, you say you see that on your Twitter where people are criticizing him. I think with the history of what you bring onto the podcast from what you see from Lakers fans, I'm convinced you do have a lot of like 12-year-olds on your timeline. Not that you follow them,
Hey,
but they're just on your timeline
just because I
saying
eat,
stuff.
just because I eat tricks, I do not hang out at parks. I do not follow 12-year-olds on Twitter. Trust.
I'm not saying you follow them. I'm just saying they're on your timeline. You see their tweets.
Yeah.
Because, hey, man, like, no way people are saying KD is not that good. Like, I did see a few tweets of people being like, hey, he was ball watching. How did he get that?
Mhm.
And, it is what it is. It's just one play.
Yeah.
I'm not going to criticize him that much for that. At the same time, I think it's a playoff series. You just got to see what he goes. But I will agree with the KD does not get criticized as much.
Mhm.
I think when we think back to the past few years, especially when he was playing with the Warriors, a lot of times the blame was on Steph
Sure.
more than it was on KD.
Mhm.
And maybe he has outperformed that, but I think since the OKC days, he has not had to deal with that much criticism about his game.
And let me also say this too, like, and none of us can comment on it because first of all, there was no social media, and we also weren't our age when Michael was playing. I don't know if there was real criticism at the time. Right now, sure, you look at all the old heads and whatnot, and they only speak glory about Michael. But like, I'm sure there was probably people criticizing Mike back in the day, in the '90s, in the '80s.
Oh, I'm sure too. I just, as you said, social media does make it a lot louder than it should be
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
with the 12-year-olds.
With the Kevin Durant thing, something that I've noticed, and it's probably been over the past 5 years. There was like Stephen A. Smith used to go at KD a lot, and KD got offended, right? KD had the burner account, so much so that KD's mom was communicating with Stephen A. Like basically, like his mom was sticking up for him. And I swear to God, since then I haven't heard Stephen A. say anything bad about KD, and I think he was KD's biggest critic. So I kind of think that's like, baby shit soft, basically. The fact that you had to get your mom in to defend you so that Stephen A would stop talking about you. At some point, bro, just shut off the phone. Like, don't look at your Twitter. Like, I like again, they're professional athletes. You know, not all the hate that comes is deserved. Like Russell Westbrook, who's, you know, his family was apparently getting slandered during the season. That's never deserved. You know what I mean? But when it comes to your play on the court, if you're playing like shit, KD, if you're not defending, if you got Jason Tatum running into the paint and you're standing there again, like I said, Iron Giant over the city, bro, you deserve to get slandered on that for sure.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Steve Ash, what is your take of the week? Are you coming with some spice?
I might be.
You might.
I might be. We'll see.